morning, it's Ginny and Tim from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, in Escanaba, Michigan at DS Tech. What's the title of our live today?
It's going to be Password Houdini.
Password Houdini.
The Vanishing Act.
What happened to the passwords?
Yep.
That's what we're going to talk about. It's kind of crazy. But anyway, make sure you drop your comments and questions and drop the word assessment or password. That's a good one. Yes, drop the word password and I'll get you the blog article that talks about all the different password keepers. Yeah.
So
how about that?
Yeah. So this will be a pretty you've probably heard us talk about this all the time. It's very common. We talk about passwords, password security, multi-factor, all that stuff. We'll go through that a little bit today. But what spawned that conversation was recently there was a bug that was released in one of the Google Chrome updates where users, a small subset of users, were panicking because all of their saved passwords were just gone. So if you're the kind of person where you log in websites, you like to use the autofill where it remembers the addresses, your credit card numbers, your passwords, all that stuff that you just save in your browser, all of that was just gone. And then some users who don't actually know their passwords because they've just been leaving it in the browser for years were literally locked out of stuff because they could not remember their password. They couldn't recover it, certain things.
I never typed in my password. I just click OK.
And
or
so,
click
they estimate there's about 3 billion with a B Chrome users in the entire wild. And Google estimated about 25% of those users had issues, but only 2% of those users actually had the bug where just all their saved credentials were just lost. Like it just wiped. You go and everything, you're like, where do they go? I don't understand. So, but even that 2% is 15 million users were potentially affected by this bug. It only lasted for about 18 hours. So Google quickly saw this problem. They released another update. So if you have this bug in your system, just update your browser, you'll be fine. And that actually affected a small subset of, we noticed, Edge users, because Microsoft Edge uses Chromium in the back end, so little bits of those were already used as well. So moral of the story is, me personally, don't save your passwords in the browser, because realistically that's a huge security vulnerability. The way I look at it as, your browser is a device that does multiple things, right? You can watch movies with it, you can go on social media with it, you just browse the internet. There's lots of moving parts in a browser. It's like almost like a giant warehouse store or like a Walmart where it does a bunch of different stuff at once, where if you actually had just a specific password manager, it will be doing a better job at keeping your passwords secure for one, because it's a focused task. So like if I'm going to go buy some mud tires for my truck and whatever I want to go off, I'm not going to just buy my tires at Walmart. I mean, you can, but realistically you should probably go to a specialty shop which specializes in that particular thing, right? It's kind of the idea, same thing as you don't want to use this browser which does all these different things and password saving is like one little portion of it, versus this is a program, this is all we do, and all we do is password managing. So that's why I like actually using a password manager, is it's just a lot more secure than using the built-in ones with browsers.
Well, I remember back in the day too, the devices that you would buy, if they were multifunctional, right? They weren't as good as at each of the functions as if like you just bought a scanner. It's really good scanner.
I always complained about that with like the iPhone and the iPods, because back in the day I used to have those like 160 gigabyte iPod that had all this music on it, but then they started adding these new features, but then the actual storage got smaller. So I'm like, what is this? It stores less music. You're supposed to be an MP3 player. I don't care if I can do this other stuff. And obviously we're at where we're at now, but back in the day too, I remember that I just want a phone for my phone. I don't want my phone to go on the internet. And well, now look at us with smart devices.
Yeah, right? Now it's like all in one place, but but I understand what you mean. I mean, it's like
professional photographers, yes, they may use their phone for little ad libs, but they still have a dedicated camera for that function, because it still will do a better job at that one particular thing than a multi.
Someone who wrote the password keeper software wrote a complete software package.
Exactly.
That takes care of
just
it,
for that,
right?
to keep things secure, where it's just like a little side project for Chrome, right? Or Edge, or any of these password managers. As well as if you've ever gotten a galactic scan from us or any of these preliminary scans, it will actually be kind of, I don't want to say scary, but eye-opening to like how much stuff you actually store in there. Because one of the easiest things for a hacker to do is if they do manage to get on your system for whatever reason and they have an admin account, they can run one little command and it will literally scrape all your passwords out of your browser. You know, you go in your browser and you look at your passwords, they'll have little asterisks, so you can't really see what they are. That's very easy to just suck up that data and see what they actually are anyway for an attacker if they had access to your system. So,
but if they're in that password vault.
There's
so to
no,
speak.
yeah, they're not. It's very, very, very hard for them to
Yeah.
break into something like that, and you're really not going to exactly. So definitely you want to use a password manager. And then the other big thing that would have saved a lot of people is if they had actually multi-factor enabled, because the stories I was hearing is like, I don't even know my email password because that's saved in my browser. So I can't even go into my email to reset my passwords because I can't log into my email in the first place. Well, if you had MFA set up, a lot of times you can do a password reset using your MFA option. So if you had like the text message or the code, you could click like forgot password and it would send you a code to potentially allow you to reset your password even without getting in securely. But if you didn't have MFA, there's not really a way to do that until you get into the account. So having MFA could have saved some of these people that were completely just locked out of everything, as well as it's just a good practice to have in general. That way, if this wasn't an exfiltration where some hacker got all these passwords from Chrome, it was
No.
literally like a bug, right? It wasn't like a security incident. But what if a hacker did get all that stuff? Well, now if you had multi-factor, it wouldn't matter even if they had your password, because when they go to log in, they would need that secondary layer for you to approve the login attempt. Again, you want to use strong passwords, just to remind on that, usually with like a mix of letters and numbers. The length of the password does matter more. So if you're gonna have like a 4-digit, everything's unique, versus like a 16-digit that's a phrase. The 16-digit probably still is going to be more secure for you, but try to get in the habit of mixing things up a bit.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. If that's still the rule of thumb, is to use a whole phrase.
Yeah, passphrases are what still is super secure. Like if you can, you take a whole sentence, right, and you take all the, say, 6 words with spaces and everything, uppercase at the beginning, maybe a period or explanation at the end. Now you got your characters. It's extremely long, and it's hard for someone to kind of guess that entire phrase. The hackers are trying to use phrases now with that as a single character to combat it, but it's like it's still the length of the password is the single most thing. That once you get it over a certain length, it just gets really, really hard to crack that.
So, question on that: I know that the password generators are not phrases; they're just like a whole
gibberish. Yep, and it's like super, and that's still like if you had like a 20 character, that's not possible to remember from humans. That's still super secure.
Okay.
And so like with our password managers or other ones that you may use, it'll say like generate password for me, and it's usually 20 characters, and you can make a slider like up to 32 or whatever you want.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing with the password manager is, yeah, you have all these just jarbled things, scrambles. You're never going to remember it. No one's ever going to guess it. And the nice thing is when it goes time to rotate your passwords each year, you can just update the password manager, update it. It makes it a lot simpler to save your passwords and try to remember my new phrase and all this stuff, because
I just did that.
Yep.
Because there were like 30 some passwords that it said, what's that called? It's the
high
threat
risk,
threat
risk, or maybe it was detected on a data leak potentially or whatever. Or...
No, it's in our software, in the Keeper software, and it said that you need to check these, and some of them were like didn't exist anymore.
Oh, because they're
the
old. Yep. Some of the password
Yeah.
managers do have hooks depending into the different databases, and so if it is a known password, that's, say someone's password is password 123. Well, obviously it's going to yell at you instantly and say this is not a secure password. It's found on the dark web. It's blah blah blah, and so it will kind of walk you through if you have old passwords that, hey, this one's 3 years old, you haven't changed it in a while, maybe it's time to rotate it. They'll have reminders for things like that too.
Yeah, and with the password keeper, it didn't take me very long, even though it was like 30 some. It didn't take me very long.
Imagine logging in and changing 30 account passwords right now. You're like, there goes my entire day. Well, if you have software where you can simply quickly rotate it, and then you add it in.
I literally just clicked the little icons and it did it for me, and then it saved them. Unless it couldn't find the website, which
yeah, the website
there
URL
were
changes
ones
or something from a long time ago. Maybe you have to adjust that, but it does make it more seamless,
and
much
some
easier.
of them, like I said, just didn't exist anymore. So I just deleted them.
So
but
now,
anyway,
if you're just a random person at home, you don't even own a business, and you're like, how do I get a password manager because I don't even want to spend money? There is a free option out there. I do tell people for personal use. It's called KeePass XC. It's free. It's open source. It's what a lot of nerds use. It's a little bit more technical to use, but it's free and you can use it, and it's still better than nothing. If you do have business with us, however, there's more commercial grade available password managers where you can manage all your users together, revoke rights, do a little bit more with it. That's more made for the business aspect of it. So just reach out to us if you're interested in that. We can obviously help you.
Actually, the home version of Keeper is not too expensive.
Yeah.
That's what we use. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, so if you want to use, there are paid ones too. Yeah, I mean, the completely free one is better than nothing, but if you can spend a little bit of money on a good quality, whether it's Keeper, whether it's, 1Password, these other ones that are out there that are really good that you pay a little bit more for, They will have little extra features that make it easier to use for your average person, right? If you're trying to set this up for grandma to use, trying to get her to use KeyPass XC, it's never going to happen. Like, but you need a software solution that's got a better UI, that's easier to manage, navigate. Which why for business it's also easier to go with one of like Keeper, for example, because it's easier to train your staff on how to use it because it's more user friendly than like a a nerd solution.
UI.
So, UI, yep.
User interface.
Yes. I use all these terms. I forget. Yep.
That's what I'm here for. Because I'm like, sometimes I don't know what the acronyms are.
Yep. Okay. So how it looks and how it navigates,
I have one more question before we go. What about Google's Password Keeper?
It's okay. I haven't used it, but that was the thing is like the Google Password Keeper within Chrome is actually what wiped out the thing. I don't know.
That's not on Chrome though.
Oh, they have an actual separate.
Yeah,
Google
it's like in your Google profile.
Okay.
Does that make sense? It's
like your Google Vault or something like that. They might have it potentially, but I heard some of those users might have been potentially impacted as well.
Oh, no kidding.
I don't know, because that's why Google are these companies that are so big that they have so many moving parts. Again, I don't trust them to do a specific task. Not that don't do a good job on it. Maybe that does a great job. I'm familiar with it.
It's not as good as the password vaults because it's harder.
Yeah, imagine that your one task is to create a vault or a safe, and that's all you're doing. You're going to do a really good job at that versus like a giant company where like, let's just dabble in vault making now. They're not going to dedicate as many resources, even though they have the capital to do it. I'd still focus on a single use case software where they really dedicate their time to it. That will be a little bit more secure for you.
Absolutely. Drop the word password, and I'll get you a list of possibilities. I think I even have a PDF somewhere.
Yeah,
I'll have to look. But anyway.
The way things are now with the data breaches and scrapes and stuff too, you always want to be rotating your passwords like crazy because it's almost inevitable now. No matter how safe you are, you can't control like Target or these companies' infrastructure that's storing your data. And so your data eventually is going to get leaked at some point or another. It's inevitable. And so just by having these good practices where you rotate your passwords using a password manager, using multi-factor, it doesn't matter if your password gets leaked, they're still not going to get into your accounts and you can kind of breathe a sigh of relief. So yeah.
Good information. Thank you, Tim. So again, drop the word password and I'll get you that list. Otherwise, go to our website, sign up for our newsletter so you can hear about these kinds of things and learn, because I do share some educational stuff. And what else? On our website is the free security assessment. So make it a great day. We'll see you next time.